We'll take a look now at the design changes. So what we've heard from consultation and how we've responded to that. We'll present this in the three sections that I talked about earlier, and at the end of each of these sections we'll pause for questions.
Great.
So the West End responses, submission responses, there's concern around Whitchurch Place, around the removal of parking for the school and the narrow path. So that's the picture in the top left corner there. And effectively, we'd like to widen that path, but it is narrow, and the grass that you see next to it's a stormwater swale, so it's very difficult to widen the path into that area. How we've been able to respond to the community with this is to provide some bollards through there and improve the connection onto Whitchurch Place, which works very well as a cycle connection outside of the school peak periods. So at the start and end of the school day, it's very busy with parents and caregivers coming and going, but outside of that, it's a really low parking demand. Nunweek Park and the high parking demand that's observed during sporting events, and the two photos on the right there show Nunweek Park and the existing path that would be widened to create the shared path, and in the bottom right is between Kilmore Lane and Nunweek Boulevard, where there are the mature trees in that location. So the design removes 17 parks from the bottom right photo, so between Kilmore Lane and Nunweek Boulevard, and that's so the trees can be retained there, but it also minimises the parking loss through this section compared to other options, and I'll talk about the other options in another slide. At Nunweek Boulevard, there's the proposed signals and platform, and there was concern around that stopping traffic movements and potential noise associated with that. With the signals at Waldridge Road, some of the residents have phoned and said, look, you're going to lose some of the parking there, which is a requirement for the signals, but also the access to their property is going to change now, and particularly during peak periods it'll be more difficult to enter and exit. It isn't any different to any other residential property adjacent to signals, but it will be a change for this location. And at the same time, there's support for the signals there. So the photo in the bottom left corner shows Waldridge Road during one of the peak periods, and there's a number of cars queued there, and there are reasonably large delays in the evening peak. And support for the signals up at the school, like I'd said earlier, particularly from Harewood School. And then at Stanley Road, the design that was consulted on had the riders stopping for any traffic that was waiting at the limit line on Stanley Road. So we've done a review of the design in that section. So what concepts had we considered prior to consultation, and what do we consider post-consultation to mitigate the parking and signals concern that I've just talked about? One option is to continue or provide a two-way cycleway on the north side. I'll just bring up the laser pointer here. So instead of having the cycleway on the southern side of Harewood Road, provide the cycleway on the northern side of Harewood Road and continue that all the way up to Harewood School. A two-way on the north side removes 50 on-street parks. The consultant design removes 17, so it's a much higher parking loss. It also requires modification of a swale, which is the photo in the top right, and potential relocation or undergrounding of power poles. And that continues along Harewood Road. This is outside the veggie shop, the photo looking back towards Papanui. You can see the power poles and swales, and continues all the way along Harewood Road up to Harewood School. Now, if a two-way was provided up to Harewood School, there'd be additional parking lost through that section, which at the moment has been minimised. So primarily due to the additional parking loss of a two-way option on the north side, this option isn't preferred, but it's also an additional cost to construct. Another option considered to mitigate that parking and signals concern was continuation of the one-ways from the central section, so coming from Papanui, and continue the one-way on either side of the road all the way up to Harewood School. This also has a number of car parks that would need to be removed, and that would be on the north side of Harewood Road, similar to the two-way option, and has the similar concepts, conflicts with the swale and power poles. If it was to continue up to Harewood School, it would have a similar impact, but it does remove the signals from the Nunweek Boulevard area. But noting that Nunweek Boulevard area, there are bus stops on either side of the road, so it's reduced connectivity for people using public transport. It retains some parking in the Kilmore Lane block between Nunweek Boulevard and Kilmore Lane, and it provides some parking outside of the veggie business. An option to reduce the impact on the Harewood School area would be to cross the two-way over to the proposed shared path on the south side of Harewood Road, so through here. So that as the consulted design and cross over at the Waldridge signals. That does, though, move the delay that was down at the mid-block signals. It moves that to Waldridge Road, so it has additional capacity impacts on Waldridge Road. So this option also wasn't preferred because it has a higher parking removal from the park area and additional costs. So what are the key changes that we've made post-consultation? So up at Whitchurch, we have provided the bollards, which separate the narrower path from the parking that currently occurs there, which is Angle Park during the start and end of the school period. This option here retains the maximum number of parks, or removes the least number of parks in this area. At Stanley's Road, we have set back the cycle and pedestrian crossing to allow for a vehicle to sit at the Stanley's limit line and riders to pass behind the vehicle. And at Kilmore Lane, the cycle facility has been moved closer to the property boundary. And what that allows is people coming from Papanui that are turning left into Kilmore Lane to position their vehicle out of the flow of the traffic. So it's safer for the people turning left in, and it allows them to observe users of the path. Are there any questions around the West End?
Almost wish we could have a fly through and look at the different options in the way. I'll start with you, Jason.
Thank you very much. So just a question on the shared path on the south side past Nunweek Park. Now, will that lead to any reduction in parking from the amount that's there? And just as a supplementary to that, has there been any investigation to either putting slanted parking or changing the parking orientation there to increase the number of parks you could potentially get to offset any losses?
Can you go back to the Nunweek Park slide? Sorry, it's easier to look while we talk.
All right, so that's the picture, the photo in the top right corner.
Right.
Yes, so directly outside the park there are 3 car parks removed. 2 of them are for a bus stop. So the design requirements around bus stops has changed. Bus stops now need to be longer, and the tapers leading into them and out of them are longer. So that removes 2 parks to make the bus stop that's currently there compliant. And down by Kilmore Lane there is a removal of a park to improve sight lines between people exiting Kilmore and cycleway users. In terms of the angle parking query, it's not something that we have considered through that section to increase the parking demand.
Is it?
Yeah.
Sorry.
Sorry, I was just the parking. The parking at the weekends is like it's everywhere, isn't it? Is it just a weekend problem? Or largely a weekend problem?
Yeah, during sporting events,
Yeah.
which are predominantly in the weekend, that the area is full.
Yeah.
The parking demand continues along Harewood Road. It spills over into Nunweek Boulevard and around the roads off there. And speaking with the bakery, they often see the spillover from the park as far down as the bakery.
Yeah.
So in terms of trying to meet the demand for parking, it's just not possible to do for pretty much any park around the city.
Yeah. Okay.
Just on that, it's actually busier during week nights during the summer when touch is on, because there's
Right.
more players and using less areas. There's a lot more users. Like a rugby game doesn't have as many people as like kids touch and stuff. So and we get complaints at community board level the parking in Nunweek Boulevard and stuff, and that there's no fire truck access, so on and so forth, because of the consequences already.
That is correct.
Is there any trade-off in terms? I mean, I know it's a dreadful question to ask, but is there any trade-off in terms of encroaching into the park and creating some more dedicated parking off Harewood Road altogether?
That's something that could be investigated, and that would be in consultation with the parks and reserves.
Yeah, no, I understand that, and I know it's not, probably technically part of this, but it does seem that some of these issues are problems that require solving, and if it's not going to, change by way of demand, then it seems unfortunate that it's the use of the park that generates the high volumes.
There's a considerable amount of grass verge before you get to the park fence at the moment, and also Jason's point around angled or perpendicular parking is that it's now a 50k road. When those parks were put in, I think it was a 70k road, so it's a different environment now.
So you can put angle parking in there.
Well, staff could look into it potentially.
Yeah.
Yes, that's something we could to look at. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Sorry. Yeah. Sorry, Emma.
I've got a question. Does this new preferred design, does that retain more parking along the stretch than the design that went out for consultation?
It's the same.
The same?
Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
Mike.
Just a couple of things. If we look at angle parks, just got to check, I guess, the safety of them having to back out into a live traffic lane.
Yeah, that's right. Look, there's good guidelines around the geometric requirements of changing from a parallel park to an angle park or 45-degree park, and what the clearance to the traffic lane would need to be. So we'd have to go away and look at that.
Yeah. So did you say the reason why you didn't consider changing the shared path to the north side was because of more loss of car parking?
That is correct. Yeah.
Do we know what side has the most demand for car parking?
Through the section from Wooldridge Road down to Harewood School, there's not a very high parking demand through that section. As you get down to Harewood School, it's predominantly on the south side, and then on the north side associated with the start and end of the school day.
Yeah.
With the Nunweek Park activities, it fills up firstly on the south side and then spills over to the north, and then it's just where people can find a place to park. So we've looked at, in terms of assessing the area, providing the maximum number of parks that are close to Nunweek Park rather than the direct what side of the road it would be on there.
Okay.
All right. No more? Okay. Oh, Jason, sorry.
Sorry, there was just one more from me. Sorry. Was there any, with obviously the changes and a small loss of parking? I understand there's the signalised intersection at Woolridges, which is being considered. But is there any pedestrian protection for the parking that would be on the north side of the road that is quite a way away from the signalised intersection to be able to cross through to Nunweek Park? I'm aware there'll be a lot of people parking on that north side and a lot of kids going to these midweek and generally midweek activities, crossing directly across. Has there been any consideration around any protection, whether it's not pedestrian, but any kind of islands or whatever it is in that particular section?
So through that section, there's a reasonably wide swale or berm available for people to walk along, and we haven't looked at providing a footpath along that section. But as you come up to the proposed signals at Wooldridge, it does have a pedestrian crossing over Harewood Road, and in that location, exiting Wooldridge Road, there are dedicated left and right turn lanes, so you could have full or partial protection for pedestrians depending on whether there's a sporting event on or the time of day. So at the intersection, yes, pedestrian provisions and protection.
So that signal at Wooldridge, that's for that's cars as well.
That's correct. Yeah. So the T intersection.
But you can still
would be
turn right.
Yes.
Because people describe to me the experience of coming down that road and turning right into Harewood Road as the sun's coming up, because it's a real blind spot. Apparently, haven't personally done that at that time of the day myself, but they said that there were a lot of near misses because people can't see the traffic. So actually, signalisation would be a safety feature.
Yeah, I mean, at that location too, you've got Harewood Road that's running in the east-west direction. So in the morning peak, you've got the low sun, which makes it more difficult. And then the parking adjacent to the park. So a combination of those factors would make it difficult for people to turn right out.
Yeah.
So it would be an improvement to the...
It would be an improvement. It's not just for pedestrians and cyclists, it would be an improvement for vehicles as well.
Yes, and that's the photo in the bottom left there that has the long queue of traffic there. And at the moment, it's a very poor level of service in the evening peak, people turning right out.
Yeah. Sorry, Mike.
There's the crossing before Skydale. I see it's still offset from Skydale. Was there submissions to actually bring that in line to let cars get out of there? Because I've spoke to a few people that said they have a bit of difficulty getting out in the mornings with the increased car, and they were actually wanting it to be moved so they could use it as well. Was there any thought about that?
So that was signalising the intersection of Nunweek Boulevard.
Oh, was it Nunweek Boulevard? Yeah.
Yeah. Yes, that was considered, and the feature of having the pedestrian and cycle signals close to the intersection, what it does is it minimises the delay to Harewood Road through traffic, But it also creates a gap in the traffic stream by creating platoons so people can turn right out. So that's one of the outcomes of all the additional signals along Harewood Road, is that while it slows down the people that are driving along Harewood Road, it provides opportunity for people to turn out of the side roads.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Moving on. Oh, one more from
Just
Karen,
one small one, because
No.
the irony wasn't lost. With the removal of car parks at Nunweek Park or around there, and it's not a huge number, did we offset that with any submissions saying from people, because a lot use it, that great, now I'll actually bike to my sports events or to the Kids Touch or whatever? Do we actually get any? That use that as an example of something that they would do now because it was suddenly safe. Because I mentioned other locations, I'm just wondering if that one
You
came
got
up.
your button on?
Oh,
Yeah.
yes. I would have to go back and look. But
I
can
don't
see-
recall seeing it myself, but it doesn't
Yeah.
mean it wasn't there.
No, we can do a quick search and then have it.
Oh, for
check
the
that.
word Nunweek.
Yep.
Oh,
We-
okay.
we-
That'd be good, because, if there's...
Doesn't mean they won't, though, start biking when if it gets built there.
Yeah, but people have been saying for years, we want a bike to school, which normally means they probably will. And if people are going to do it to sport as well, it's good to know. If it is there, just backs it up.